Welcome back to another episode of Steele Talkin Sports. My name is Jay Steele, and let's get talking. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Monday. It is Monday, May 20th, around 4 p.m. We are live on YouTube. I have confirmed that I did not mess this up this time, so congratulations to me. We are learning things about the world. So we've got a lot to talk about. I don't want to be too winded this time, so let's get right into it.
And here we go.
So on Sunday we had two Game 7s that happened. The Pacers took down the New York Knicks. Unfortunately, we have lost our Eastern Conference future on the New York Knicks to win the East. What a sad day it was, but it's okay. Honestly, you can't do much when the Pacers shoot like 72% from the field in the first half. They just went absolutely nuclear. Shout out to them. Their whole team chipped in. Final score was 130 to 109. Halliburton had 26 points and 6 assists. Dante DiVincenzo did have a monster game. He had 39 points. I believe he made 9 threes. But the story for the New York Knicks is injuries. It happened early in the series with Mitchell Robinson, or maybe that was last series. But then OG Anunoby with the hamstring. He did try to give it a go in Game 7. If you watch that, he made the first 2 buckets of the game. But I think on the second one, he tweaked his hamstring again. You could tell the next 2 or 3 possessions up and down the court, he was really, really hobbled as compared to the first 2 possessions. Like, he made a 3 right off the bat, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe he's got something today. And the second 2-pointer that he made, they said his foot was on the line, so it was a 2. He kind of did like a fadeaway with a one-leg land, and that was not what you needed on a bad hamstring. So he only played 5 minutes. Props to him for giving it an effort for his team. But he had nothing. Josh Hart gave it a good effort. I think he ended up playing like 36 minutes or something, but he fouled out. He had an abdominal strain that limited him in Game 6, and he was, not that effective in Game 7. 10 points, 8 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, but he did have 6 fouls. And then in the third quarter, Jalen Brunson playing defense hard on Tyrese Halliburton as he drove to the rim on a breakaway, and he slapped the ball, but on his way down, he got the knee of Halliburton and broke his left wrist. Or fractured his hand. Either way, he left the game. And it was just like, man, like the Knicks had made a push. Like they made it interesting after like a 15-point deficit at halftime. And just one injury after another, the Knicks just fell apart. But big props to them for making it this far with that many injuries. Everybody gave it their best effort. Honestly, Alec Burks, 26 points in 27 minutes. Like, he gave it his best effort off the bench in a losing effort. But, Hartenstein, he only took 2 shots in 30 minutes, no points, 8 boards, 2 assists. Like, you got to have more from your center. And yeah, just a tough loss for the Knicks. I was really rooting for them hard, but big props to the Pacers. They play just a different game. The Pacers play an up-tempo, balanced sharing effort. If you look at the box score here, Siakam has 4 assists. Nesmith and Turner both have 1. That's kind of expected. But Nembhard had 6 assists. Halliburton had 6 assists. Obi Toppin 4 assists. TJ McConnell 7 assists. Even Ben Shepherd had 3 assists. So 33 assists as a team. They shot 67% from the field, 53 made baskets on 79 shots. You're not going to lose a lot of games when you play that way. They were lights out from 3, shooting 54% as a team. They just they had a nuclear game shooting the ball. But they had shown that in this series that they can shoot, they can run, they have depth more than other teams usually do. Maybe that's because they're not a big three centered team in the NBA like a lot of teams are, where they invest 70% of their salary in three players, and you're left with nobodies to fill the rest of the roster. This roster is very balanced to where they they share the ball. I know they won by 21 points, but that's kind of lopsided when you look at it because the game had ebbs and flows where it was a lot closer than that. But there's four guys on the bench that had over 10 minutes of playing time, and three of them had over 15 minutes of playing time from their bench. So when your starters are only topping out at 36, 37, 33, 34, 33, and 28 minutes, that's a balanced attack, and you're keeping your guys fresh. In a game seven, when you know that the next series, if you win, you're going to go up against a gauntlet of a Boston team, I was impressed by the Pacers. Very good job. They did what they needed to do, and they advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals to face the Boston Celtics. In the other game, in the West, we had an absolute, I don't know what you want to call it, a meltdown, but also a wonderful comeback. Um, this game is insane. When you look at the box score, I mean, in the first quarter, Denver was dominating. It says 24-19, but the game was not that close to start. Denver had an early 10-point lead. Jamal Murray was on fire from three-point land. And then in the second quarter, they continued to build another 10 points on top of that, holding Minnesota to only 19 points again in the second quarter. Denver's up, let's see, 24 plus 29, that's 53-38. Yeah, it was a 15-point lead at halftime. And then in two buckets to start the third, it was a 20-point game. And right after that, it was 58-38, and Denver forgot how to shoot the ball. So they scored 5 points in the first two possessions, and then only scored 9 points the rest of the third quarter. That was huge. And then looking at the box score, it's pretty clear. I know that the Minnesota bench only scored 13 points, but they won by 8, and the Denver bench only put up 5 points. So 13 minus 5, that's 8 points from your bench, and that's exactly what you win by. That is the difference in the game. It was pretty pathetic to watch Denver not be able to shoot the ball or even run offense efficiently. They did not understand how to escape the double or the trap from Minnesota. And when they did make the right pass, the person who was open that took the shot missed the shot. So it was a lot of bad things from Denver that I watched, and it was evident the entire series. Like the previous game when they only put up 70 points in Game 6, that it was the same game in a way in the third and fourth quarter. All of Game 6, Minnesota played lockdown defense. Their doubles and their traps on Jokic and Murray were super effective, and they just did not know where the correct outlet pass was. And again, when they did find the correct outlet pass, that player did not make the shot, whether it was Porter or Jokic or Caldwell Pope. Nobody was making shots in Game 6. In the first half of Game 7, Denver was making those plays. Jamal Murray had 25 in the first half. He was great. I think he had 4 or 5 three-pointers at that point. And then, he only had 3. So he made 1 in the second half, but he went 4 for 12 from the game. So he was cold. He ended up with 35 points, and Jokic had 34. But your other 3 starters only combined for 4, 7, and 5. Pretty pathetic to watch. The second half, again, I'll just say, like, they could not move the ball. Minnesota played stifling defense, even when Anthony Edwards wasn't shooting the ball great. He was kind of taking bad shots and keeping Denver in the game. Every time that Minnesota would get close, they would bring it back to 2 or 4, or maybe even take a 2-point lead, and then Edwards would take a poor shot, and Denver had an opportunity to keep climbing into it, but they just couldn't make buckets. They honestly look gassed to me. They look super exhausted. Besides Jokic, I don't think anybody had the stamina or the energy to continue playing, even if they won that game. I think it would have been pretty bad going up against the next team in the series for the West Finals. So for the future of the West Finals, I'm kind of glad that Minnesota won, because I just don't think that Denver was going to put up a strong effort in the West Finals. They looked tired. The long run last year, deep into June, and then the short turnaround to the new season, play 82 games, and I think these guys are just out of gas, and they need a vacation. So props to the Nuggets making it this far, making it to a Game 7, but props to the Minnesota Timberwolves getting to the Western Conference Finals, and emerging as a young team that can do what it takes to get it done. So now obviously we've got the matchup set for the playoff bracket. Got the 5 seed Dallas Mavericks taking on the 3 seed Minnesota Timberwolves in the West. That game starts on Wednesday, or that series starts on Wednesday, May the 22nd at 8:30. And on Tuesday, the 21st, we've got the 1 seed Celtics taking on the 6 seed Pacers. Just for reference, if you still would like to get down on some NBA futures, there's only 4 teams left, so you got a 25% shot at getting it right, technically. Boston is minus 150. Minnesota Timberwolves plus 275. Mavericks plus 500. And Pacers 25-1 at plus 2,500. What I was looking at that I thought was interesting was the series props. Boston to win the series against Indiana is minus 900. Obviously, they're a huge favorite. Indiana, on the other hand, is plus 600 to win that series. I actually think they could take it 6, maybe even 7 games, because they play really good at home, and they proved last night that they could win on the road in a hostile environment in New York. So there's no reason to think that they can't do it in Boston. And I heard an interesting nugget on another podcast the other day, on the NBA gambling podcast on the SGPN network t-shirt I'm wearing. Shout out to those guys. But in like the last, I don't want to get the years wrong, don't quote me on this, but in like the last, let's say 7 years, I think, without me pulling up the stat, Boston has lost a home game in every series over the last, I don't know, like 10 years, I think. So Boston is almost guaranteed to lose a game at home. I don't know if it's going to be game 1, game 2. If the Pacers at least win 1 at home and in games 3 or 4, it could be game 5. But Boston historically loses at least 1 game at home in a 7-game series. So keep that into account, that one of these road games, with Indiana being a big underdog, they will sneak out one of them. On the other side, Minnesota is minus 170 to win the West Finals, and Dallas at plus 145. If we go to the series spread, also, I'm looking at this, go to NBA, you scroll over to series props, and you'll find, all these series matchups that I'm looking for. The series spread, Boston minus 2.5 games, minus 155. Pacers plus 2.5 games, plus 130. That is one that I would be eyeballing. I think that Boston could easily win this series 4-2. But if you take that Pacers plus 2.5 games, you got that half game cushion. You make some plus odds money right there. The Pacers at plus 1.5 games. If you think this series goes 7, those odds are plus 280. I don't know. I mean, the Pacers do run, and if they can shoot the way that they did last night, Boston has proven that they can go cold in these playoffs, so I wouldn't be surprised. But that one's a risky one. I would stay on that Indiana Pacers plus 2.5 games at plus 130. And then in the T-Wolves Mav series, Dallas plus 1.5 games, minus 150. T-Wolves minus 1.5 games, plus 125. Dallas minus 1.5 games, plus 225. Ooh, I like that because I'm on Dallas. I've still got the future open for Dallas to win the NBA Finals. And I just like the way Kyrie and Luka operate. They proved to me in that OKC series that they operate as a team. It may look like it's a one-man show when you look at the box score, but it's really not. Derek Jones Jr. Has proven himself not only as like a scrappy defender, but he can make some threes, and also he gets an enormous amount of blocks for, I don't know what you call him, a 3 guard or a small forward. Dude has bounce like some of the best dunkers in the league, and he just uses it to block shots and get crazy alley-oops from Luka and Kyrie. So I like watching that guy play. They've got 2 superstar big men in the making, in Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, I think. Both of them work really efficiently as, the spell guy for the other. Gafford gets the start most games, 8 to 10 minutes, and then Lively comes in for 8 to 10 minutes. They really don't lose anything when one of them comes off of the court. I think they're like the same player, but their body size is a little differently. And Lively, since he's a rookie, I think he's a rookie. He's not quite as polished yet. Gafford is a bit more polished. I mean, we're talking about like a 3rd or 4th year guy and a 1st year guy. Like, they're still very, very raw in talent and refined skills. But Gafford gets a number of blocks. Lively has put up double-doubles. I trust both of them to continue helping Dallas win the rebounding battle because I believe Dallas won the rebounding battle in 5, maybe even all 6 of those games against OKC. And that was the deciding factor. I mean, 1 or 2 of those games, they out-rebounded them by 20 rebounds. So you can't – it's hard to lose a game when you out-rebound a team by 20 rebounds. So I trust Dallas in this series. I'm going to be on the Mavericks. I will be on that Mavericks to win the series at plus 145. I'll probably be on the Dallas minus 1.5 games at plus 225 as well. And I maybe even throw a sprinkle, Dallas to win, 4-1. So that Dallas minus 2.5 games would be plus 550. So those are my predictions, but let's go ahead and, talk about game ones for both of them. So tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, Indiana and Boston. The current spread is Boston minus 10 at minus 112 odds currently. The total is 222. And the money line is Boston minus 455, Indiana Pacers plus 350. This could be the one that the Pacers sneak. Let's see. The last 3 against each other. Boston won 2 out of 3 of those games. Let's see the full regular season series. I think Boston won this 3-2, but let me just double check. Yep. Okay, so Boston won the regular season series 3-2. First game, November 1st, 155-104. Game 2, December 4th, Pacers 122-112. Game 3, January 6th, Celtics 118-101. That was in Indiana. So the first 2 games both were won by the home team. Boston the first, Pacers the second. Boston won game 3 on the road. Pacers won game 4 at home. 2 days later, January 8th, 133-131. And then the final game, third in the month of January, January 30th, Celtics 129-124. So one was a blowout by the Celtics. It was a 10-point win by the Pacers, a 17-point win on the road by the Celtics, 2-point win at home by the Pacers, and a 5-point win at home by the Celtics. Interesting. So, in the final game of the year, Boston was favored -8. Indiana covered that, only losing by 5. The over-under was 249. Holy shit. And it went over. The halftime score was Boston 81-66. Wow. And Indiana actually won the rebounding battle 50-40. Boston made 17 threes. Indiana made 12. Go back one game. January 8th, 133-131, Indiana. Boston was favored -3. Indiana covered the spread again. Over-under was 246.5. They scored 264. Halftime score, Boston 68-59. Oh, okay, I like this. So, in 2 games ago that they played, January 8th, I understand it's a long time ago, but Boston had a 9-point lead at halftime, and Indiana scored 74 points in the second half. Nice. Indiana also made 19 threes. Okay. Third game, Boston was favored -7. They won by 17. Okay. Still a 9-point game at halftime, 58-49. Boston won the rebound battle, 56-38. Indiana did have 12 steals. Wow. December 4th, Indiana won 122-112. Boston was favored -4.5. Halftime score again, Boston 55-48. So Indiana's proven to me in these games that, well, besides this one, the first game of the year, but in both of these wins that Indiana had against Boston this year, they were down at halftime. So I like that. I definitely like that even for game 1. To maybe take Boston first half, Indiana to win the game. How about that? Let's find. Okay. Halftime, full time. Boston Celtics halftime, Indiana Pacers full time, plus 950. I'm not saying do it or don't do it, but that's some good odds, almost 10-1. Whoo-wee. Also, you could look at first quarter, Boston Celtics, money line, Indiana Pacers. It's the same number, plus 950. If you want to take Indiana Pacers first quarter and Pacers money line, like last night, that would have been a great play because they destroyed New York in the first quarter and then they never gave up the lead. Plus 750, yeah. yeah, that halftime, full time, Boston Celtics first half, Indiana Pacers full time. Whoo, boy. I like that. But down to the game, the minus 10. Yeah, I'm going to be on the Pacers. I don't know how true this is, but the ESPN matchup, when you look at the game odds on the website, it shows the opening number, the total, and the spread. It says this opened up at Boston minus 13.5, and now it's down to minus 10.5 on ESPN Bet. Whew. I know, man. I wish I would have got in at the 13.5 because those people that bet the Pacers 13.5 are really happy right now. But regardless, I'm still going to be on Indiana plus 10. I'll probably buy the half point and lay a little bit more juice, just so that if they did lose by 10, I'm covered. But I will be on the Pacers plus 10.5. Also, after last night, I would not be surprised to see a 3-point barrage from a couple of guys. Tyrese Halliburton is over under 3.5 threes. I would take the over. Andrew Nembhard over under 1.5 threes at plus 185. I would take that. And maybe even Derek White for the Celtics at over 3.5 threes at plus 130. Those would be three guys that I would probably key in on. I've not been having success in the player prop market. It seems like every game, like if I pick a guy to get points, he only gets rebounds. If I take his threes, like Michael Porter last night, I thought this would be a Michael Porter game. I picked him to go over his alt threes over 4. It would have been like a plus 230 play, and he was ice cold. I think he only made 1, maybe 2, but it was a bad night. So take that with a grain of salt. Look into the stats. Make sure you find a guy that you like. He's got good averages, and DraftKings giving you a favorable number, or FanDuel, whoever you use. So Indiana plus 10, maybe 10.5. Definitely the 10.5. Buy it up to 10.5. Make sure you're safe. And sprinkle a little bit on the money line, plus 350. I think Indiana has a chance to win game 1 for sure. One of these games they're going to win at Boston. So pick the one you like, game 1 or game 2. But I think Indiana, they're buzzing off that win in New York City. I imagine they just go straight to Boston and ride that high, and get it done in game 1. So take the 10.5 if you want to be safe. Take the 350 if you're a dog. In the over 222, these teams should have no problem scoring points. They don't play defense, either one of them. So just take the over, and you could probably put a rent payment on that and feel pretty safe with that one. Boston put up 155 in their first game. Come on, these teams can score. Wednesday, 8:35, the Dallas Mavericks take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. T-Wolves are favored -4 at minus 110 odds. The over-under is 206.5. And Minnesota on the money line is minus 180. Dallas plus 150. This is going to be the best series of the playoffs, I think, unless the Pacers just have another nuclear scoring performance. But I think this is going to be the two most evenly matched teams with the T-Wolves and the Mavericks. But they're two totally different styles of play, I think. Mavericks, very slow-paced. They want to get into their sets, and then they choose when they want to run on certain outlet passes or just long rebounds on threes. They take the advantage to push when they want to. The T-Wolves, on the other hand, they are more like a college team in a way. I would say that Anthony Edwards helps run that team a lot faster. They just want to push the ball. he's not afraid to shoot the ball with 18 seconds on the shot clock after a rebound. So I think the totals seem oddly low. Um, when you look at the scores here, the first game played in December, 220. Well, hold on. Let me look at this on OddsShark so I can see what the numbers were during these games. Because just based on what the number is now, it would be way over that total. So, how many games did they play this year? They played 4. Minnesota won the series 3 games to 1. All right, so the first game, December 14th, 23. Minnesota favored -2. They won 119 to 101, over under 231. So that was 11 points under. But it would be 13 points over our total right now. Halftime score, Dallas 60 to 59. That is not a good sign. Dallas was up by 1 and they lost by 18. Okay, well, that's kind of like Minnesota last night, so that's not surprising at all. Second game of the year, December 28th, 23. Pretty much almost the same game. Minnesota favored -12 in that game. They won 118 to 110, so Dallas covered the +12. Over under 228. It was exactly 228. Halftime score 61 to 56 in favor of Minnesota. Third game of the year, January 7th, 2024. Minnesota favored -2 on the road, and they lost 115 to 108. Over under 234.5, and it went under by 10 points. And the last game they played, January 31st, super blowout. Minnesota favored -13. They won 121 to 87. So, not very, very good looking on the Dallas side. Trends recently, total has gone under in 10 of Dallas's last 15 games. Dallas 4-1 ATS in their last 5 games on the road. Minnesota 8-3 straight up and 8-3 against the spread in their last 11. The total has gone under in 7 of Minnesota's last 9 games against Dallas. And also, Minnesota 10-4 straight up in their last 14 games at home. And Minnesota also 6-1 straight up in their last 7 games at home against Dallas. So the trends would favor Minnesota. But for me, I've been saying it, I'm going to be on the Mavericks. I think that win against Denver, yes, it helps the T-Wolves for their confidence and their kind of bravado of being a young team, and now we've gotten over the defending champions. But I think the extra game that they had to play, the short turnaround in, we'll call it 3 days, I think that's going to play a factor, and I think Dallas is going to be a touch more rested. Luka's probably gotten treatment on his ankle and his knee. They listed just a playoff injury report for Luka, and he had 6 different injuries. It was a finger, I think a head contusion, a lower back, an ankle, an Achilles. It was damn, dude, how many injuries can one player have and still look like a superstar? I don't know. Maybe it's all nonsense, but I mean, he's not the quickest or the sharpest guy on the court, but all his buckets and his passes are just so smooth. I love watching Luka play, and he truly I think it was Ian Eagle and Grant Hill on that call. But Eagle said it best. He said Luka is not complaining to the referees about getting fouled. He's just playing basketball. And I thought that was the best statement about how Luka had played in that series and in the Clippers series. He had been looking for fouls. He's searching for a foul on every drive to the basket, and it was affecting his shot rhythm. His anticipatory nature was thrown off, and he wasn't shooting the ball effectively, but also he wasn't making the right reads. And so I think in that game 6, he let that go. He started just like, I'm just going to play to the whistle, and once I hear a whistle, then I can complain about the call. But even then, he didn't complain about the calls. He just played through the whistle. A couple of them he should have gotten fouls, and he just waited. Like, he didn't say anything, and he just turned around and went down court and played defense. And then he played some of the best defense I've seen Luka play in the 4 or 5 years he's been in the league. He truly stepped up and played Lou Dort on defense, and made him make tough shots. And yeah, it won them the game. So I think Dallas is going to be better prepared for this series. I still love Jason Kidd. I think he's a great, like, young coach as far as his tenure. And I like what he's doing with Luka and Kyrie. So I'm on the Mavericks +4. I'm going to be on the Mavericks money line as well. And I don't care about the trends of Minnesota being good at home. They lost 2 in a row to Denver at home. So, and then they won game 6 by a lot, by 45 points. But I don't see that happening to the Mavericks with them coming off of more rest. So that's it. I'm going to be on both underdogs in game 1. So let's recap a little bit. Last week, I was 2-2 with the against the spread picks, and 1-3 with the over-unders. That was not good. So we're going to try to get back to winning ways. But lastly, I know there's only one hockey game tonight. I might as well talk about it. The Edmonton Oilers and the Vancouver Canucks play Game 7 in Vancouver. I did hear that the top scorer for the Canucks, Brock Besser, he's the guy who had the Hattie or the almost Hattie in one period, like a few games ago. I think he's out due to blood clots. So he's their top scorer. If he's out, I don't know if the Canucks have a chance. So I would definitely be on the Oilers tonight. And I mean, the line is telling you that. Edmonton is a -160 favorite on the money line on the road. The goal spread -1.5, or the puck line -1.5 at +165. Yeah, Vegas definitely thinks that Edmonton is going to take this game. Yeah, Brock Besser out. That is a huge blow for the Canucks. A blood clotting issue found in his leg following Vancouver's Game 6 loss. Damn, that sucks, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, in Game 6, he had no shots on goal. He had a -2 rating, but he had 18 minutes of ice time, which is 3 minutes lower than his average. But, in a 5-1 loss, that kind of makes sense. Game 5, yeah, he had no production, 2 shots, 19 minutes of ice time. But, damn, in game 3, 20 minutes of ice time, he had 4 shots, 2 penalty minutes. He was a +2. He had 2 goals and an assist, and the assist should have been his goal. They say it got tipped. It's kind of, yeah. But super huge loss. That sucks. He was hot on the ice. That sucks. Also, it looks like they're missing Carson Soucy again. Dang, this dude got another suspension? I know he got suspended for the cross check late on McDavid that one game, but damn. And Demko looks like the starting goalie will not play in Game 7. He's been out since early April, but they were talking that he could come back. So yeah, I mean, there's only one person listed out, and that's Adam Henrique for the Oilers. Centerman. Looks like he's probably just a healthy scratch. Doesn't look like he's injured at all. Just probably a healthy scratch, getting somebody else some ice time who's been a bit more productive. So yeah, I mean, the series has been tight. It's been back and forth every single game. It's been Canucks, Oilers, Canucks, Oilers, Canucks, Oilers for 6 games. So the trend would tell you that the Canucks are going to win, but with their top goal scorer out, I just don't see how they get it done. So yeah, take the Oilers, and they'll make it to the West Finals like I predicted. The Canes aren't going to be there, but it's all right. We'll live to fight another day because they signed Rod Brindamore to an extension. Best coach in hockey. He's staying a Caniac. We love it. Yeah, we got to be happy about that. Love seeing that from the Canes re-signing an absolute legend for the Carolina Hurricanes hockey club. I think that is going to wrap it up. We are 42 minutes in on this beautiful Monday, but I'm going to stop talking and stop listening to myself talk, and we will get prepared for one hockey game tonight at 9 o'clock, so get some rest, stay away from the television, go do something fun. Looks like it might rain, maybe. But yeah, hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in, and leave a like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate any support that I can get. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's a great Monday to be alive, I guess. Follow me on YouTube at Steele Talkin Sports. Follow me on Twitter at Steele_Talking. Yeah, drop me a like, drop me a comment. We'll have a chat. Throw me a DM on the X twit, and we'll have a conversation about some sports. This is episode 11, NBA championship preview or conference championship preview. And I will see you next week. Peace out.
Shake and bake.
Roger, Roger.